You're going to tell me when we're up, right?
Yep.
Hello, everybody. So, like usual, mini camera problems today. So, we are live at 9, but I'm not ready to go. So, I'm going to have a sip of tea, and we're going to get started in just a second. So today what I wanted to do was go over our color study. And make sure I got all the things I need here at my hand. So how clear is this, sweetie?
It's clear. It's just a little far away, but yes, it's clear.
Oh, you don't see it very well? Okay.
Yeah. No,
What?
that's better.
Okay.
Just have to go down.
Down?
Yeah.
How's that? Okay. So, what are we doing here? I always ask myself, where am I at and what am I doing? We have black, which is neutral, dark. We have ultramarine blue, black, ultramarine blue, my medium. We have a burnt umber. We have a cad red light, a cadmium orange, and a yellow ochre. So you see our whole painting is going to be right here, isn't it? And we don't really have too much of this, and so our whole painting is actually right in here. Okay? So once you realize that, it helps you see your swifts. So our main shifts in color will be from blue and black to burnt umber and warm. I'm going to do my best to keep these separated and only introduce one into the other when I need to gray it off. By the way, white, black, and blue are our cool. White, black, and blue. And burnt umber, cadmium red, light. I have cadmium orange. I haven't used that yet. We'll see if I do. Yellow ochre, and then my white. Okay, but yellow ochre, cad orange, cad red, and burnt umber is my warms. White and blue and black are my cools. All right, so with that in mind, we're going to start by oiling out. So Susan was asking for a video, and right before my studio got turned all upside down, or I guess in the middle of it, I have not been able to produce it yet. So what you want to do is take your medium. You can buy retouch varnish. When you see retouch varnish, that's what that's for. Like before we start today, we could spread retouch varnish on it. This is just a way to have one less bottle of something. You probably can't even see it, but I poke a couple holes in my Gamasol so I can literally just get drips at a time. I don't have to worry about large amounts coming out. And we're going to take our medium. And since this is going downhill, I'm going to make a little catch for the Gamasol. A depression so that it can sit in there and then I can get it mixed in. Whoops. There we go. It's not working very well on this surface, but we'll just do a little at a time.
Susan gave you a thumbs up.
Hey Susan, I'm glad you're here to see this. So we're oiling out. Okay. And unfortunately I can't see the screen right now, but I hope you can see. You see how this is still holding? We want that to be a little bit looser. So we're just trying to wet this out.
Karen's here.
Hey, Karen. All right, so again, we're just oiling out to prepare for our next layer. All right, so it's getting a little bit runnier. And since I'm working on an angle here, I want to make sure my brush is ready to go. So I'm going to put it on with this. And then I've got a big soft brush here that I'm going to take up any excess.
She said she can see it.
Make sure all the soap's out. Okay, here we go. So again, I'm adding just a little more Gamasol to this, but it may get a little runny. And I got my palette facing down so I can show you guys without adding an extra camera right now. So it makes these operations a little more challenging, but we can do it.
Karen asked, is there black in that air mixture?
I'll get to that in a minute. I don't know. So the air is going to go from the, basically if you think burnt umber and yellow ochre for the table, and then the background in light, in shadow would be like burnt umber with a little cad red, maybe a little white, maybe a little blue. But this is going to be burnt umber and white. This will be burnt umber and yellow ochre, right? And if you're clean and disciplined on what piles are what, especially to start with, you can get these subtle changes and you don't have to use a bunch of color, right? Most people use color as their crutch. As their crutch. All right, let's see what we can do. So you can see this sliding down now a little bit more. And I might, if I was on a flat surface, even go slightly more. You want to avoid, you don't want to get it 50-50. At that point, the Gamasol will start, you might see some cracking and stuff in your painting if you get it on there too thick. I don't think many of us have that problem, though. All right, so I've made a big mess here. Let me see if I can clean that up.
Jamie's here. She said, okay, here we go.
Here we go. So we're about to oil out. Everybody ready? And unfortunately, at some point we'll do a thing where Cindy's holding the camera and you can get to the side and you can see. But what we want to do is just get this whole thing wet. You see the difference? Oiled out, not oiled out. And that is why we have to oil out. Can you see that on camera, sweetie?
I'm trying to get a little closer. Hang on. Okay, do it again. Yes.
You see the difference between there and there?
It's shinier, yeah.
Now watch. There's a big value difference. Watch the grapes. You see that? That is why we oil out. Okay, to get those values. Look at that. Even the background. You see that background change?
Oh yeah, especially in the corner right there.
Okay, so that's what oiling out does, is it brings the luster of the oil painting. The whole reason we're working in this, not always easy medium, is for that luster and that shine and that depth.
Jamie said, clean and disciplined? That's a novel concept.
To an extent, to an extent. Not sending you to boot camp or anything. Okay. And again, I know this is really dry. If this is just dry to the touch, you don't want to go over too much. But since I know this has been sitting around, it's had a fan on it. So I'm going to get all of this really wet. Kind of let it soak in for just a second. Go across, go up and down. So we got all in the little crevices.
It is a little challenging to see. Some have said camera's not picking it up, probably like what they're thinking.
Oh. Yeah, like I said, just having this stable angle until I get a professional camera person willing to work for free. We're going to do the best we can. All right, so I've got all that on there. And then I literally come over to the side. And I'm usually have a window right there. And I can read the glare. At this particular setup, I can't.
They can see it more in the side view.
See, and that's how I would go, but I'd be looking towards the light when I'm checking this. Okay, so point your thing towards the light and hold it up. Again, it's such a pain getting this stuff set, I'm not going to take it down and show you. All right, now this is just a very soft brush, and what I'm going to do is just try to take the excess off, because we don't want that built up too thick. All we're wanting is to, and then wipe it on a paper towel. There's not even that much on there. And then I can watch my paper towel and see if it's really wet or if nothing's coming off. See, nothing's coming off right now. That was an earlier wipe. Okay, now we all know that we don't want to finish our strokes like this, right? Why? Because when the light comes down, if our strokes are like this, it's going to read all those little ridges and have all these little highlights. So whenever you're doing something like glazing or quieting down, make your finishing strokes up and down, right? And that'll prevent those highlights from above, which can really mess up the look of your painting when you're finished. All right, so I've had a chance to get Gamasol everywhere and warm up. Okay, so whatever's left of that, I get rid of that. All right, there's my regular medium. This is the medium with all the Gamasol in it to oil out. All right, what time is it, sweetheart?
It is 9:12.
Okay.
Deb just joined us as well.
Hey, Deb. So I'm glad you guys could all make it. If you wouldn't mind, would you give me kind of an every 15 minutes?
Yep.
That way this doesn't end up being a 7-hour demo.
Yes.
Okay, so did everybody get the PDF with the email? The email went out with the PDF, right?
Yep.
On the color study suggestions, right? Value first. And we want to think in terms of color shifts from here to here rather than, you know, right there, I would like a brilliant, bright pink. No. Because what we're doing is we're moving from here to there. And if you have destinations in mind, it's going to mess everything up. You need to watch the movement. How big of a movement? Not a big movement, but a little movement, right? Where does our big movements need to be where we want the eye? Black and white, dark and our light gray, light and dark. Okay, so we want these movements to be less than these movements. Less than and quieter than. Okay, so this is how I'm thinking of color. You can see, I hope you can see, in the reference image, this isn't black, is it? It's brown. That whole thing is like brown on brown on brown, and then you've got some of these gray-green leaves, right, with a little pattern of that cool in the background. But in order to have an interesting image, and again, there's different ways to do this, but what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to make that jug black, blue, cool, and surround it with all these warms. I'm even planning on making these a dark warm, same value, but warm there. So those will, again, should have a little less impact than that does. Okay? And then other than any black we get in here, our other only coolness would be this cool green gray of the leaves. Okay. I find demoing particularly hard because I'm not exaggerating. I'll sit here 10, 15, 20, sometimes half an hour and just look. What do I see? What's working, what doesn't? And I try not to start until I'm really clear in my head, in my mind, what I want to do and how I'm going to do it. Which reminds me, I forgot a big piece of my equipment. Pretend you guys didn't see that. Look behind the curtains there. Don't want to kill the movie magic for you.
Deb said she'd watch for 7 hours.
Thanks, Deb. You know, honestly, I would too. I guess that's why I'm a painter. All right, let me get my reference up and let's do some color studies. There we are. All right, so that's the picture you're seeing of the jug in the bottom corner. I'm on the top corner. Hopefully I'm doing okay. So this is the overall shot. And then when we get to it, Cindy's going to be able to zoom in a little bit on this and help us out, okay? I'm working on the appropriate size for this so you guys can see enough and I can get it done fast enough. But for right now, Sin, if you want, let's focus down here on the palette. Okay. We're going to do a little palette work. A little pre-mixing. Again, this is a way that I can get my nervous system set up, get my relationships in my eyes. Right? You got to be in the mood.
Jamie said that's good. Being clear before we start, guilty of the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. Trust me, me too. I just want to throw paint, but yeah. If you ever want to finish these things, you got to start with the finish in mind. All right, so let's just start off easy. A little black. Were you able to zoom in, sweetie?
Yeah, okay. The picture. Sorry, it jumps around a little bit.
All right, so Cindy's learning to work the camera zoom from the computer angle. Okay, so one of the things I'm doing right here is I'm feeling the paint. What does that mean? Well, how far can it run? Right, and you see how it got a little jaggedy there? That tells me that it's a little bit dry. That can be good, and I do already have some medium on the surface, so I want to keep that in mind. I was thinking that I was going to thin this out a little bit, but I think with the medium up there, I'll leave it. Now, just to make sure that's on the cool side, I'm going to add just a touch. Do you guys, can you see that? So maybe even not that much.
Hang on, sorry. There you go.
Let me see what's going on here. Okay. Excuse me just a second, guys. Okay.
I didn't get my start today.
Okay, let's see. Where was I? Blue here, with the black. So I'm curious, what should that difference be there? Should I do black and red? Or should I do burnt umber and red? The burnt umber and the red's not going to be quite as dark, I don't think. Let's try it out. it feels a little brown to me. Any of you guys like to eat brown grapes? Yeah, me neither. Whereas you see the color of this is more quote-unquote red. And in relationship, I hope that's showing up on camera. That's a pretty subtle, but that's dead. And this is alive.
Yeah. Susan said when I mixed that little blue into my black, I couldn't see the difference from the black.
Yeah, oftentimes you can't, but then especially as you thin it out, you'll feel it. You'll feel it. It'll be there. Okay, so you see that? So we might go something like that. That little bitty shift again. But how many of you, if I asked you to mix up a red grape, would mix up that disgusting color right there? I hope that's 0. Because it is a disgusting looking color in this context. But again, by thinking in shifts, rather than grapes are this color, we're able to produce beautiful paintings. All right, so that'll be the start there. And I do want that the darkest and the heaviest. And then my background will probably be a little bit lighter than that. And you can see I've left space for just that. Just that occasion. Okay. Now, why don't we mix up some of this and some of that? So if we go pure burnt umber, that's there. Now this is that burnt umber and cad red, which would work really well up there, right? Because we don't want an attractive color up there. We'd rather have a non-attractive color because the non-attractive color is going to release the eye, right? Whereas an attractive color is going to draw the eye. Right? So pretending you're doing a bank heist for your grandchild or something, right? And you got to distract them. That's what this is all about, is that bank heist. All right, then, so we've got our umber and red, our burnt umber and yellow ochre up here. And then we can have burnt umber. Now let's go over here with this.
Claudia said, perfect, you're good.
About what? What are you talking about, Claudia? Or are you talking to Al? You're welcome, Al. I hope he heard that. Okay, so a little more white because what we're trying to do, so you see this right here, could be some air there. See how close these are? But again, I'll make that a little brighter, a little more attractive, and that one a little grayer or a little, what's that one? Meek, that's me, believe it or not. I'd rather curl up in a corner somewhere and not talk to anybody, but on TV, I guess there's an alter ego. Okay, so there's not a lot of difference here, but you see we've got directions. We got a cool direction. Then we're switching over to our warm direction. This is black and red. This is umber and red. Now these things will change depending on how much of that I put in there. Quantity matters. Quantity matters. Matters a lot. A lot. Pure burnt umber if we need it. Burnt umber and yellow ochre. And again, what's the purpose of this is we're trying to go darker but a little brighter in there. So do I need what does this do? You see how easy it is to get like, boom. Okay. Seems a little reddish. It's easy to forget how strong that cadmium is. Now, why does this look so colorful? Well, because there's no competition. Okay? This is how you create color. By first establishing the silence. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Let's see. Do we need anything else before we get started? No? I mean, those are basically the directions I'm going to use. I know I haven't mixed up my 4 values. I'm just in a different space today. And we're going to just skip that for right now. Because I wouldn't be able to get to painting if I slowed down and did that. So where to start, where to start, where to start? Well, why don't we start on the strongest spot? All right, what's that strongest spot? Do you guys remember we were trying to really make this shoulder a lot stronger than everything else? So the first mark's always a test. Now again, all you're going to see right now is taking out kind of the highlights from the paint itself right now. Right? Because see how as I go down, they go away. If I go sideways, can you see that? Where there's a little bitty highlights on that, and that's just highlights on the paint. Okay, now I know this is a very special moment between the black and the red right there. We want to take our time and recognize that. A very, very special moment for the lovely couple. Okay, let's get a little bit of this strength in here.
To get him tied around the canvas so it's okay, you don't see much of the paint.
Well.
Just for this, they're asking.
Yeah, whatever they want to see, show them. Within limits, within limits. You guys are going to have to pay a lot more if you want to see that. Okay, and then from there, where do we go? We're shifting to over here. So what is this? Just pure umber. Right, then I can work that, and let's see how that matches up. So this could be my dark from here, but instead of putting it right there, why don't I just skip a little bit? Right, see, I'm trying to make those edges and things quiet. Come back in there.
15 minutes, 9:30.
Okay. So this is going to be slower, but again, I'm going to try to show you guys how I really work. Again, I left a little, why? So it's, for a transition in there. Transition. It may or may not stay, I don't know. And then what happens from here? It goes lighter, grayer as we go back. Let's get our color in there before we go lighter gray, all right? See how even this works as a little color? Didn't want as much down there. Okay, and then there's a big question about where we want to be right here. And for right now, you see how this seems illuminated with that? I want to keep that. Let's knock that down a little bit. And I think I'm going to do that with just thin. By thin just means lots of medium. So it's almost a stain. Different kinds of marks. Look at the cute baby. How soft and gentle. Nope, you never rush when you're messing around with a cute baby. Same thing here. No need to rush. Some of you long-timers have heard this, but, and again, I don't know if this is a true story, but the sentiment of it is where it's at. But I heard or read the Leonard Cohen, the singer-songwriter, passed away, I think within the last year, maybe two, living down in Los Angeles. Anyway, he once spent 2 weeks looking for a single word, right? What's the longest you've ever spent looking for a value or looking for a color? Right? What's the longest you've ever spent looking for a relationship between thousands of colors and values on a canvas? And here we're talking about one single one. So much of this is just about slowing down. Slowing down. You know, now this is really loud up here. I'm going to have to tend to that. So what's it going to take to quiet that down a little bit? Okay, that's a little bit warm, right? Why does that matter? Because the warmer this gets, the more attractive it's going to be, right? Which, if we wanted this to be attractive, we'd have to put that where we wanted them to look, i.e. the grapes. Okay? So we're going to stay away from that cad red right now. And I will come back with a little bit of white, but I try to, once you get white in a color, there's kind of no going back, at least in that session. So what can I do without white first? And see, now as I come over this, and even if I do the same quote unquote glaze over this with all that variation under there, do you see, can you see that? Sin, can you zoom in on the painting?
Yeah. Okay.
Can you guys see under here? So there's an even layer on top of that, but because of that stuff underneath, it doesn't look even and flat. I believe David uses the word clotted. It doesn't look like it's all clotted, but it's still nice and airy. Just slide right over into that. Part of what I'm doing here is, again, just kind of knocking some of the value off the canvas. You see how white that is right there? We don't need that much. That doesn't need to be that loud. All right, that's taken away from the subject matter. See that? Now this is quite loud too, but I'm gonna be careful back here because I may end up putting something back there. Again, if I hadn't had camera problems this morning, would have figured out what that was, but my attention was needed elsewhere. Okay, and I do want to start darkening this down a little bit, so how might I do that? Well, maybe I can do burnt umber and black. But again, just in like a lot of the charcoal longer drawings you've been seeing, notice how I'm building this up. And I build the air up differently than I would build a solid thing up or a focus. Always paying attention to what's light, right? I can take that down and get, but we don't want it light, right? So my eyes are open. Okay, and to me this is pretty distracting too. But look at Bob from Home Depot, man. He didn't even stop. He just threw that stuff off the truck as he was driving by. Oh, man. That's cool. It's just what we needed. It's just what we needed. It saved us a little work.
Jenny said that's very helpful building up.
Yeah, I mean, again, the look of the finished painting. You can't do that by just going in there and bum, 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 bum. You don't give them that depth. All right, so I feel like I'm warming up a little bit now. I know I do want to go darker here. But I also want to let go a little bit, not too much. So what is burnt umber and blue? But wait, you said, I know, but what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to let go. So that's going to be neither blue nor brown, right? But somewhere in between. Okay, so that's a little dark, right? So I'm just going to spread it out there a little bit.
Deb said, I would make that base bigger to take that space in the past.
Yeah. I don't know if I've got it too small here, and I might, but the less something you have and the more nothing, the more intense the painting is. Okay? You'd think it would be the opposite, but it's the more nothing you have, because if most of the canvas is nothing, then what that means is that all your attention, the viewer's attention and focus, is going to go to a very, very small area. And they're going to spend the same amount of focus whether they're going from edge to edge to edge or whether they're just looking right in here. And if you take all of their attention that they have and put it in there, well then that, boom.
Says, right now I know better.
Well, that's what I'm here for. Make the world a better place.
Jenny says, I love how you put the little dots on to check it out.
Well, and that's also about deposit it so that, right, if I'm always doing that, guess what? My whole painting's, but if I poke, if I push, if I scrape, then all those marks are much, much more interesting. All right, what do we got? So this is still quiet. Not quite quiet enough, but I would like this, I think, a little quote-unquote browner, just so that we don't lose that. But I also want this slightly lighter than that, right? Remember, we were going to go light, dark, light. I'm still doing that, except this light, dark is light, dark. Okay. And what's kind of funny is that usually if somebody walks up on this, they think, oh wow, he just and he was done. Well, that look has taken, what time is it, baby?
9:42.
Man, it's taken about 45 minutes to do what they think is done in 3 seconds. Okay. Also here I want to drop that a little bit. Now look, this isn't a matter of sophisticated color mixing, but it is a matter of paying attention. You can't just get in a task-oriented state of mind. Right? Because I still want this more, I want this less, but I want them closer. So one way I can do that is some of these streaks of white that are in here. If we take those out, that'll quiet it down. That's pretty loud. This too is just a little too much right now. Yes, man, I just, it's like, things are getting better. My wife's rocking out over there. Man, it's hard to keep up with that woman. She's a wild one. All right. So we got, right, where are we at in the painting, right? We're where we want to be. We're where we want to be. Celebrate, I'm going to have a little tea. What, sweetie?
Almost 9:45.
Okay. So how's everybody doing? So it's 9:45. We've been going 45 minutes, but I'm just now beginning to get warmed up. And you may not be like me. Like I said, we're all different. We're all different. Some of us fast, but, right? You can't come in and say hello to me and expect me, man, I got to warm up to you. I got to warm up.
Jenny's like, nice. She says that really got the glow.
Yeah. So I think what I want to do now is come in here and start setting these backgrounds and these leaves up so those leaves have a bit of clarity. And so for here, what am I going to do? So much of it's about listening, right? Because, oh, what do I want to do? Oh man, we could buy this, and we could put this in, let's build that, some nice wood carving. No, it's not about me. What does this canvas want? So we got to be quiet, and we've got to listen. So I don't know how many, but there's going to be a leaf down here and maybe a grape or two or more. And then the other thing is I will probably have something up in this area as a large silhouette. Why don't we go ahead and try that silhouette, because it is about balance, right? Part of it's about getting them where they want to be, but it's also about balance. So if these are that big, how big would these forward grapes be?
Jenny said a mouse.
A mouse? Janny said that, or Susan?
Jenny.
Yeah, a mouse silhouette would look perfect right there, sitting in the corner, waiting to see. Okay. And then I believe it was Susan. So this, I think this is called a stylus. Is this for sculpting? For etching? I don't know. But basically it's just a little metal thing. I could use this. I could use the edge of my palette knife. I have a sharpened old paintbrush, shish kebab stick. Any of those things would work. I just happen to be in a stylus mood right now, so. Because I want you to watch this grape here. Okay? Can you zoom in on near that grape, baby?
A grape. Hang on. Let me get over there. Oops. Okay, I'm in as far as I can go.
So I'm thinking about a stem, but is it going to curve up? Is it going to curve down? Is it going to be long? Is it going to be short and stubby? What's it going to be?
That was cute, dude. Game.
No. Not Jim Carrey, Faces on Demand. Let's see, here we go. Yeah, and you know what? I think I'm going to send this back this way.
Claudia said, also used to trace a pattern onto a surface without marking pattern.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, whoever made these, I need to write to them and say, hey, they're good for painting too. All right, I like to get that in relatively early. Let's see, let's get. And that way I have a chance to look at it for a little while. I may end up hating that. And sometimes it's just a matter of there's too much clarity. Right? For one thing, we're catching a little highlight here at the bottom. All right, so this is supposed to be me showing you guys a color study, and I'm just painting. So let's see.
Susan said those are the pointers that are always in the dissection kits.
What, in the dissection kits?
Yeah.
Oh.
I remember those.
I just put that all together. So I shouldn't be holding this in my mouth? Is that what you're saying? Ugh. I don't know if I'm going to use that tool so much anymore. I just got the EBGBs. Ugh. Sorry, I got a weak stomach. I'm not made for cutting things open and poking around inside of them. Like ideas, yeah, but like bodies and stuff. I'm building up a sweat over here. Oh my gosh, you got me so uncomfortable, Susan. I can't even tell you. Oh, all right, so let's see. So let's get some black and a little yellow ochre for the shadow there. What's going on, sweetie?
I'm just laughing.
My wife is the happiest person I know. And it's got nothing to, I wish it had something to do with me. It's got nothing to do with me. She was like this when I met her. Just bursting into laughter. Boom. I love it.
Susan says sorry.
Now you guys know the real reason I wasn't a doctor. Ugh. All right. Cindy's on the floor over there. Is that microphone picking up her giggles? Do you guys hear that? Okay.
Aw. Deb with points.
Deb taking up for you?
She said, you are smart grabbing onto her. I can tell she's a pleasure to be around.
It is, yeah. Most of the time, unless you're angry or frustrated, then you just get laughed at, and, well, you learn to deal with it, I guess.
Oh my God.
But yes, most of the time it is a pure joy to be around.
Aw, shucks. Susan said, Deb Kenny true. Aw. Shucks, guys.
All right, so as I put this dark cast shadow in here, watch this leaf become defined. Baby, can you get in on the near the jug and the leaves?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I should have gave you a bigger heads up.
Whoops, hold on. Jug and the leaves. Okay, we're in on the jug and the leaves.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a shadow right here. You see how instantly that leaf, boom. And then I want to adjust the background. Let's see, what did I want to do there? Oh yeah, then the shadow, a little there. All right. Yeah, I got really lucky with the people I live with, that is for sure. Them, not so much, but me, yeah, I got lucky. What are you going on about?
Claudia said something funny, but I don't think I'll tell you because it'll derail you.
Okay.
But then she said, laughter is the best medicine.
All right, and I realize this is probably too small for you guys to see. But you guys should know by now, I just can't help myself. And what you can't see now, you may be able to see it later. Like some of this stuff is just way too thick for here. So I'm going to use some of that background to cut it down. Oops. Oops, got a little heavy-handed there. A little heavy-handed. Okay, so let us now find that background. Then we'll go from there and meet up. But this junction is what's important, right? So that's where we want to start. Start at the finish. So I have a feeling this is entirely too dark, but let's just check it out.
Susan just said, my 4-value study has become so dark all over that I hope I can bring it back.
Yeah, I like this. It's a little, maybe a little far apart here, but what it's going to allow me to do is to come back into this light green and I can spill it out into this color for like a halo, and I think that'll lighten it up just enough. And then I'll have the light here, and then maybe down here we'll have the light on the table, almost kind of like it is. Yeah, sound like a plan? All right, let's go rule the world. Break. Let's go. Again, we don't want this too flat. You know, how far does that move? Do I want to go lighter or darker up there? Probably darker that way. And let's see. Okay, that may need another step, but it's a step closer anyway. Let's blend that into what's there. So it's going to go lighter this way. Okay. And we're going to go a little darker up as we go. So a little darker for us. Burnt umber. Wonder if I want to add any color to that, but I don't think so yet. Now, look guys, do you guys see the dark value? Light, a little darker, a little darker, a little darker. Now we're a little darker here. So along this edge, it's going through all these value changes next to it. And that's one of the things that'll make this seem more realistic. And how you can be a little more even here and still have it look like it's alive by moving the stuff that's around it. All right, how does this look next to that dark shadow? Does that dark shadow still read? Gets a little quiet and mysterious, doesn't it?
Shakti just joined and it's 9:59.
Okay. So I know this might be extremely long, we don't know, but I'm going to keep going, and I might go as long as 2 hours. We will see. But again, you see how I'm working, rather than working around like this, kind of almost working out from that vase with the background. Okay, then let's keep going a little bit darker. So that'd be more burnt umber. And then I can think about, like, the lid on this is really small. But we don't want that edge up there really loud. We want that quiet so they go with the leaves and not get stuck on the edge. Are those leaves starting, are they popping now? Should start to be able to see them. But why should I be in a hurry? Look how lucky I am. Sitting here just moving paint. Not cutting into dead animals. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Janny is gotta go, but she said, will this be recorded for later so I can watch the rest?
Yes, it'll be on Facebook. Maybe on YouTube, we'll see. With it being so long, I'll have to see. But yeah, it'll be here in the group on Facebook for you to come back to it and refer to. Okay, so remember, the main idea is that we're not going from color to color, but we're moving. What does it take to move from here to there? All right, what do we got here? Let me step back and look at this. So for all of those of you who have trouble with glare, my light is coming from over there. If I look towards the light, I have glare on it. And so if I want to get a clean shot without glare with my eyes, you can do this a little bit with the camera, but you also want to be square on, is I'm going to come to this side, and then the light is behind me, and I'm looking with the light. So I'm not getting that reflecting off. I hope that makes sense. Once you figure that out, it can save you hours and hours of messing with the painting and the glare. All right, so what's next? What is next? So, should we compress this here so we have a little more intensity right in here? Should we? Huh? And let's. And just to gray this off a little bit, I'm going to take some of this green. Right, this green was from in there. Some of that burnt umber. And see, by putting it on this way, then when I go through it, some of it will be slightly green over it, some of it will be slightly more red. But it's not going to pop. It's going to be really nice and quiet. Nice and quiet. Again, let's just... So if we got that there and we've got that there, if we also have that, you see what a sneaky little design that is? Not as heavy as there. And rather than going here, here, and boom, that's too fast, but, oh, okay. Again, it's a subtle thing that most viewers won't even pick up on, but they will feel the harmony that it creates in your painting. Okay, again, you see how this paint is going on differently right now? Well, I'm going to plan on coming back with a soft brush and taking all that edge out. And let's see, how about burnt up here? Looks like that dried out again, doesn't it? Ah, See, I was having trouble seeing that. I already sucked up all that medium that I put down before. Okay. That was bothering me like the dickens. Alright, and then I don't think we really want over here very much. Did Sasha ever make it into the Facebook group?
Nope, I actually
Not yet.
sent her a
Okay.
message.
Okay. Boom. We may be getting our highlight. Let's see. So you just use this brush to oil out earlier, so it's still really wet. Again, I don't want to move, I just kind of want to take the edges off. Notice that even this I'm doing different directions. See, the difference here is that I'm not in charge, but I'm letting the painting and the brush be in charge, and I'm just responding to what they're telling me. So in order to do that, you've got to listen very carefully and be attuned to both your canvas, your paint, and your brush. Tune in Tokyo. All right. Okay, and then that soft brush that I again picked up the excess. Okay. So at the top of that's a bit obnoxious right now. Why don't we send that to Charm School? Just go ahead and send it to Charm School. Okay, so how might we weaken that? Well, why don't we put just a little bit down. Oh, man. Did that feel as good to you as it did to me? I know, I got my nose into it. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but we're working on it, we're working on it, we're working on it. So, this is the background right here. And again, I don't want to be right here, I want to be up there. So you see how big of a deal that is? Just by lightly. Ah, and now you're released from there, and you can go up there. Then I'm going to take this and work it into that for that weaker at the bottom. Let's take a little bit of this. All right, now that highlight should mean something, I hope. All right, and then there we go. That's more appropriate. All right, how are we doing, babe?
It is 10:12.
10:12. How many people? We still got some people here?
We have 6.
All right. Do you guys have any questions or anything? I feel like I've shown you what I wanted to show you. Even though we're calling this a color study, I'm calling on you to shift how you think about and use color, right? Use it again to bring focus. I mean, what's my brightest color in here? Well, this is kind of warm, but there's not, do you see how there's not a lot of color in here, but it can still be very, very lively? I'm sure everybody's nodding yes or has me muted, so we're good. I don't want to work on these because in order to do it right with these being so small, I need to do it like this. And I don't think you're going to get any benefit out of that at all. And to do any more up here, I probably need to do the same thing, get really in there.
Claudia has a question.
Okay.
The blend you last used in the upper right.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay, so Claudia was asking what blend that I used up there. And what I did was I went through my burnt umber, some of my black, some of my green shadow here, which was the black with the yellow ochre. And I put spots of those everywhere. And then I just carefully kind of blended and wiped them in. So it's not one color, but it's 3 colors of a very similar value. And that'll keep it from getting clotted and flat. And it'll still feel like air and it can vibrate without being closed down, right? Once you close it down, it's really hard to open it back up without many, many layers. But that's one of the things I do as I start the painting is I hold off on closing things in as long as I can, right? And close in only those things that I want closed in or defined. But I've got to be very, very, very careful every time I approach this, every time I approach any of that. Because it doesn't take very long to, which actually just gave me an idea. And that's why I like to wait, because I begin to see things. So let us, go ahead, baby.
She said saw it, just missed a step of the mixture. Thank you.
Of the mixture? Okay, yeah. And I just took this big soft brush and almost patted and twisted and, right? And that's another, because if you just have like a hog bristle brush or something, those marks are going to show, right? Hopefully you can still see those marks show. Here it's not so bad because it gives some speed, but air doesn't have grain like wood. So I've got to do some things over here, but I'm going to do it with a smaller brush. Where was I? This brush. So what I thought of was, so what I thought of got in way of another one of my ideas, but since this is quiet, let's see. I'm in painting mode, so I've lost my ability to speak, guys. What I'm wondering is if we make this slightly lighter over here. So that that pot's a little bit clearer. Baby, is there any way you can zoom in on that pot, on the jug?
Yeah, let me get up there. Okay.
Do you guys see how that jug is now jumping off of that background? Right? At least up down here, not so much. But up here it is. So, if I like that, then what I've got to do is then tie that back into what's underneath it while not destroying this edge.
Deb said that made the jug bigger to me.
Yeah, and that's one of the difficult things with the size is the power you give these things can make them appear much larger. Okay, yeah, and I like that, so I'm gonna just try to, again, tie that in there with what's underneath, nice and quiet. Take some of that color out down here.
Shakti says, yes, I really like the pot coming forward like that.
Yeah. And that's just a value color relationship, and you just have to see. And now, if I had something different on that side, when I came in here, you would get something completely different with that same. It's also relative, so you just have to experiment, but at the same time, it's got to be kind of a controlled experiment. In other words, look and see what happens. Look and see. And then, you know, why don't I get rid of this heaviness right here? And then I think that will release that table and everything back, right? Did you guys see how when that went away, this whole thing got more spacious? Kind of like if you don't watch the news for the day. There's a little more space to breathe. A little more space to breathe. Okay. All right, so how are we doing on time, baby? Let me get over here and take another good look at this. What time? 10:20. Yeah. Okay, guys, any last minute questions? I am going to take my iPhone. Am I going to do that? Yeah. This may ruin the broadcast or make it. We'll see. So what I'm going to do here, can I sit down for just a second?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, how do I get out of it? What am I going to do here? Oh, I'm going to take this phone. All right, guys, let's see if this works here. Crawling under wires. So what I'm going to try to do is to take the camera, this camera, and get a little close-up tour. Everybody hang on, you buckled your seatbelts, look away, and get a little crazy here for a second. Okay. How is that picture, sweetheart?
That's good.
Turn that so I can see it a little bit. There we go. All right. Okay, see as I get over here, that glare goes away. Now, okay, everybody hold on. I'm going to try. Oh, it won't read that, I don't think. All right, we're going to try it anyway. Just in case I lose you. The palette, there's not a lot of differences there, right? But you see how I pull on things and push things in a certain direction rather than try to land things. So there's my cadmiums and my yellow ochre. I don't even have anything as bright as yellow ochre on this painting. Okay, so now I'm going to try to go into a different program that's got a better camera. Still, oh, you're still with us. Yay!
Yep.
All right, let's see here. Camera.
Whoa.
Wide. Sorry guys, I know this is a lot, but I'm trying to focus and get so you can get a really good clean.
Oh yeah.
But look, you can still see through to the canvas. So there's the top right corner, Claudia. And then we move over to the top left corner. And you can see that area right around the jug. All right, so we've got a little wild here, but I think this is maybe a good place to call it for the day. We're out of focus again. So anyway, I'm going to say goodbye, and the wizard behind the curtain is going to say goodbye.
Bye, guys.
And we'll see you guys later. Bye, Shakti. Bye, Deb. Bye, Claudia.
Bye, guys.
Everybody that's left. See you guys later. So you'll have